So this is an important day for all of you and your families as you celebrate your amazing achievements, so I congratulate you. It's also an important day for me, and I'm pleased to receive this fellowship award. Honestly, I never graduated from university. I never even started college. I'm what you would call a high school dropout. But here I am in front of you, and I've been given a few minutes to share my words about my life and career and some advice to leave you with. As Louise has already said, I'm one of the founders of Codemasters, a British video game company based in Southam, and I've also founded Kwalee, which is a mobile game studio with 300 staff, and we've almost had 1 billion downloads now. My story could have been very different. My computer studies teacher, Mr. Evans, told me to stop programming games, it was a waste of time. So I'm glad I didn't listen to him. My brother Richard and I were fascinated with electronics from an early age. My father was an entrepreneur, and my grandfather was an electronics engineer, and they both encouraged us. In my youth, there were no mobile phones and hardly any computers. And even the computers were mostly programmed using punch cards, so it's pretty old-fashioned. My whole family and I moved around the world a lot when I was a kid. We lived in England, Holland, Australia and Canada. I spent my youth packing suitcases, changing schools 14 times, and even living on a boat in France, where my mum became our school teacher, which isn't so crazy as she was a school teacher in Australia. My favourite subject at school was physics. My physics teacher taught me electronics when I went to school in England. I learned how to make electronic gadgets. I even made a gadget that detected when my parents were coming up the stairs to check whether I was doing my homework. When I was 11, we moved to Canada, and my maths teacher dedicated half of the semester to teach the kids how to program. I owe a great deal to that teacher, although I don't know his name. We only had one keyboard in the classroom, so we mostly programmed using punch cards, which took forever. My brother and I used to go to the school at night time, and the janitor would let us in so that we could use the one keyboard. It was an old-fashioned computer, but it didn't deter us, and we coded well into the night. At the same time, the arcades were getting popular, and we loved playing games in the arcades. At some point, we dreamed of writing our own games, but the clunky school computer, it wasn't really possible to make games. In 1977, my dad bought a Commodore PET computer for work, and he used to let us take it home at the weekends. It wasn't perfect, but we quickly managed to write our first game. It was a Dungeons and Dragons text adventure. A game, thanks to Stranger Things, is less outdated reference than it might have been. Our youthful hobby turned into a business idea. A family friend owned a Commodore VIC-20 computer with colour graphics. We played a bunch of games like Space Invaders and Asteroids and cloned them on his computer. Then my brother and I moved back to England on our own to live with our grandparents. We felt really independent. Although we were only 15 and 16 years old, we kept making games, and we started selling them in a magazine called Popular Computing Weekly by advertising. Our dad insisted that we go to college and become opticians, but we loved games, and there were no games programming courses in the colleges in those days. My brother and I dropped out of school at 16, and we felt the games industry had huge potential. I'm glad we made that decision. We made games from BMX races to pigs in space, and we sold them to games publishers. They were selling like hotcakes. Our first game that we sold to Mastertronic was called BMX Racers, and it sold 250,000 copies. We wrote games and earned royalties, but we still wanted to publish our own games, so we used the royalty money we earned, and we started Codemasters in 1986. Initially, it was a small family business, but over the next 20 years, Codemasters grew to become one of the largest games companies in Europe. We made Micro Machines, Pete Sampras Tennis, Brian Lara Cricket, Jonah Lomu Rugby, Toka Touring Cars, Colin McRae Rally, and many other games. We invented and patented a game enhancer called Game Genie, which was a cheat system for the Nintendo NES console that let players modify their games. We felt it was the perfect way to enter the games console market. Nintendo didn't like Game Genie, and they sued our distributor. We had to fight them in court and eventually won, and Nintendo had to pay $15 million in damages. Game Genie became one of the most successful toys in America, selling millions of units. I'm glad we stood up to Nintendo, although it wasn't fun at the time. In 2007, after 21 exciting years, my brother and I decided to sell Codemasters. For a couple of years, I enjoyed myself scuba diving and go-kart racing, doing all kinds of stuff, and then I realised that wasn't enough for me, for my life. I needed an objective, I needed a challenge and a purpose, and I remembered how much I loved making games. So in 2011, I set up Kwalee, a game studio to make smartphone games, and I loved embracing the new technology. I've been running it now for 11 years, releasing mobile app games, and recently we returned to selling PC and console games. I'm so proud that Kwalee was officially recognised as Best Large Studio in 21 by Tiga and Best Publisher in 22 by Mobile Game Awards. As you can see, a fascination with games, single-mindedness, determination and a bit of luck have shaped me and allowed me to contribute to the video game industry. Before coming here today, I thought what I could tell you that might be really useful. You will have your own ideas and beliefs, and I can only tell you what worked for me. Today you officially graduate and the world is open to you. Try different things and find what you love to do. These are the concepts that I found useful. The first one is that nothing is impossible. I approach everything in life with the conviction that it is possible to be done. It is amazing what you can do when you try hard enough. Edward de Bono, the Maltese inventor, had a great technique for solving hard problems. He would write down the sentence, every word in the sentence, and then just try and solve one word. If you can solve one word in a problem, you can usually solve the problem. Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done. The second concept, well, I can definitely tell you I'm not the smartest guy here today, or person here, but I have one skill that I'm very determined. Nobody can tell me I can't do something or it won't work. As Muhammad Ali said, there's nothing wrong with getting knocked down, as long as you stand right back up. I didn't listen to my computer studies teacher who said forget about making games, or my dad who wanted me to be an optician, or Nintendo who tried to stop us selling Game Genie. If you want to do something, don't let anybody stop you. My third suggestion is simple. Find what you do, find what you love and do that. However hard things get in the games industry, I always keep going because I love making games. The fourth one requires courage. To succeed in a big way, you must learn to take risks. And I'm not talking about crossing the road in heavy traffic, I wouldn't advise you to do that. I always keep an eye on the prize. Risk is just a hurdle on the road to the prize. We took a risk releasing Game Genie. We knew Nintendo would probably sue, but it became Codemasters' most successful product, selling $140 million at retail. Calculate the risk and the reward. Sometimes the reward is so high it is worth taking a big risk. The fifth one is very important to me. It is to be yourself. When I was younger, I tried to be like everybody else, going to nightclubs, drinking, having fun. There's nothing wrong with drinking and having fun, by the way. But I was just trying to fit in. Ultimately, I developed a problem with alcohol, because I was trying so hard to fit in and be like everybody else. Eventually I realised I had unique skills and that I shouldn't try to be like everybody else. There's no such thing as an average person. It's okay to be different. So be yourself and find your superpowers and use them. The last one is, I believe in embracing change. Over the last 20 years, the world in the games industry has changed incredibly. When I started making games as a teenager, they were black and white, a ball and two bats like Pong. So different than the quality of the photorealistic games today and virtual reality games. My granddad said he was born 100 years too early. He was so excited about what technology would bring in the future, and he wished he could be in that world. You are lucky you will be in that world. When Elon Musk founded Tesla in 2003, not many people believed in electric cars. Not many people believed you could land rockets and reuse them. Now Elon Musk says he is working on a humanoid AI robot called Optimus that will be launched in 3 to 5 years. I'm looking forward to meeting Optimus and maybe one day flying to the moon or Mars. I love how embracing change creates the future. So what I would recommend to you is be determined, be yourself, find what you love, be a risk taker and embrace change. Nothing is impossible, and good luck on your adventure.